I've been flipping video games online for 6 years now, and for that entire time, I have sworn I would never open a video game store. I didn't like the idea of the overhead, didn't want to be stuck behind a cash register all day, and honestly, just had no interest in the idea of a customer-facing business. But despite all that, here I stand today in this, let's say, cosmetically challenged building, and you guessed it, folks, it's gonna be a video game store. In this video, I wanna show you guys all around this new property, cast the vision for what I hope this store becomes, bring you in on what inspired this huge change of mind, and even pull back the curtain on what I think all of this is going to cost. But first, let's do a little tour. Now, this whole building is actually split into 2 sections. One of them is here, it's actually a former martial arts dojo, and the other one is what is actually going to be the video game store, which is on the other side of this lovely green wall right here. But everything from this wall on over is going to be the new home of our video game buyback website, QuickFlips, which until this point has gotten very cozy in my residential basement. Now, right now, the entire 10-person QuickFlips team is operating out of about 700 to 800 square feet of basement space. So needless to say, this, when it's all said and done, is going to be a big upgrade at more than double the square footage of what we currently have. The space definitely does come with its quirks though. For example, this little observation wall that used to be used for parents to stand behind while they were watching their kids, kick each other's butts over here. This is almost all going to have to come out except for the parts that are, integral to the structure of the building. So this whole space ultimately is going to feel even more open. I'll show you guys the full floor plan. The security system's still beeping over there. I'll show you guys my full floor plan later, but what is staying from the space is all of these tiny little offices here. This, I think, is going to be our resurfacing room where we repair all of our discs. We have a small room for storage over here, a couple of bathrooms, which will be really nice, and then I think one more little storage room in the corner over here. Oh yeah, imagine all the games we could fit in this bad boy. One thing that I've learned in the last couple months as we've been looking at spaces is anytime a business or retail store is moving into a new space, there's an entire process called fit up where you look at the existing walls and doors and windows and fixtures and everything that's currently there and determine how much you can keep as it is and how much you're going to need to take away or change. For example, all of these mirrors here, as nice as they are to make the space look larger, we're going to be putting a couple of offices on this back wall, so those are all going to have to go. This wall is going to have to go, and then the other wall on the opposite side is actually going to have to get repaired and filled out a little bit because this is what's going to separate the game store from our website operations. And honestly, as rough as this space looks right now, because the previous floor plan was so open, we're actually going to be able to save a decent bit on demo costs relative to what we would normally have to pay in this size of a space. Why does the camera keep... Now folks, where we're headed next is going to be the entrance of the actual video game store, which I'm excited to show you. But I imagine what a lot of you guys are wondering right now is, Caleb, how the heck did you go from I'm never opening a video game store to I just signed a lease on a video game store? And to understand that, we actually have to rewind a little bit to when this entire business started in a 1-bedroom apartment. Back then, my wife Erica was in law school, and my only goal was just to make enough money to live on. My job at the time was not paying very well, so a few $100 extra a month really went a long way. Now, over time, that side hustle turned into a full-time job, and the bedroom operation turned into a spare room operation, and eventually I had enough money to hire my first employee, Spencer.
Coliseum, Skies of Arcadia. That's a big one back in the UK, where I'm from.
Quick note here though, the building that we were just in for operations is that one, and then the video game store is right next door in this awkward little triangular storefront here. But anyways, back to the story. At the time that I hired Spencer, I kind of thought that he would be my first and last employee. I had no problems and honestly intended for the business to start and stay pretty small, but little did I know the business would not stay small for long. And a big drum roll, please, as into this weirdly shaped potential game store we go. Ooh, very impressive. My, Mr. Game Store, what a sharp angle you have. But yeah, folks, this is it. We've got a bunch of really nice natural light in here. The biggest thing that's going to be different from this whole fit up process is that, as I mentioned, this whole back wall here is actually going to be torn out, and the square footage of this place is going to go up by a decent margin. The other things that are going to get torn out are these two back rooms here. One is a bathroom and one is a storage room. Both of those are going away, and the final square footage of the new store is going to be in the 1100 range. We're still getting some of the exact specs drawn up as we speak. One of the bigger projects that's definitely going to happen in this demo process is scraping up and polishing all of the floors. We are going to keep them as like hard cement floors, but I want to get them nice and stained and polished and looking really good, because currently these look pretty dang terrible. So anyways, with Spencer's help, I was able to scale the video game flipping business from a spare room operation to a basement operation. And since then, since launching myquickflips.com, business has compounded so quickly that someone's staring at me outside. He's like, oh man, some homeless guy broke into the vacant store again. Anyway, since launching our buyback website, the team has quickly scaled from just me and Spencer to 3 people, to 4 people, to now 5 full-timers, 4 part-timers, and me. And it's become very clear quickly we cannot stay in the basement. Now you may be thinking, okay, Caleb, that explains why you would want to move into a warehouse, but it doesn't explain why you're also opening a video game store. And to understand that, you have to understand something I was explaining to my team a couple of weeks ago. Gosh, this angle is so weird. That's better. As the leader of the business, it's my job to spot potential pitfalls that we may encounter a little bit down the line. And the 2 risks and a restriction that I'm seeing for this business right now is, 1, our space is too restrictive. We can't scale if we stay in the basement. 2, we're a little bit too dependent on this very YouTube channel for our marketing and getting the word out that we pay the best prices around for video games. And 3, as far as our sales channels go, we're a little bit more dependent than I would really feel comfortable with on Amazon, because if they shut our selling account down, we would have to really scramble to pivot and sell games elsewhere. And the total epiphany that I had about 6 weeks ago is that moving into a warehouse space would solve our spatial restriction, but adding on an element of a public-facing video game store would solve both of our other risks at once. We solve our Amazon overdependence by having another sales channel that is entirely local and fee-free, and we solve our YouTube dependence by having the natural marketing of a physical storefront that people can physically drive by, which we'll talk a little about later. Making the decision to pull the trigger on a physical store ultimately comes down to the team. Not only have my last 2 hires, Shina and Logan, been people who have over 3 years of experience managing video game stores themselves, but also Keaton, Ryan, Brian, Spencer, the entire team has given me so much confidence in their abilities to run stuff and take ownership and crush their respective tasks over the last couple months that I, for the first time in the history of my career, have confidence that I could open a video game store and not have to be there all the time. Now, don't get me wrong, I am super excited at the idea of being able to look into the eyes of somebody who I'm selling games to, which is an experience that I've just never had as an Amazon seller. I'm excited to have a space where people can come and do trade-ins, and I can meet the community, and I can buy people's collections. But the reality is, on the average week, I'm already putting in 60 hours a week to this job, and if it weren't for the stellar team that I now have, this just would not be feasible. Now, in a little bit, we're actually gonna go talk to the team and see what the heck they think of all of this. But first, I thought some of you might be interested in what the actual floor plan is going to look like for this future space. You can see this is the existing wall, which we are going to keep. This is the wall that is right over there in the background that is going to need to be demolished so that this space here can be opened up significantly, and we can have an actual decent amount of space for people to come into and walk around and enjoy browsing our games. You can see that bathroom back there is also marked for demolition. Most of that partition wall in the other operations room is going to be demolished as well. And then we're also going to be adding 2 offices up here. So we'll have the rest of this completely open space to do what we want with for operations. And this right here, folks, is what I'm really excited about. You can see here, I've got everything laid out and color coded according to what I think it might look like. Over here in the store side, you've got all of the glass cases, which I found out recently are very expensive. And then over here in green, we've got our intake department. So all of the stuff that people sell us at myquickflips.com is gonna come over here. It's gonna get processed right here and then sorted out to all of the stations that it may need to go to for prep. And then once everything is prepped and bagged, and then any inventory that needs to go into the game store from operations can go right through this little doorway here. Oh shoot, it looks like it just started to rain right as I was about to film a bit outside. Some of you guys may be wondering, Caleb, why here? Why in this exact part of town, in this building that clearly needs a lot of work? And the reason for it is this right here. This is Man o' War Boulevard. It is one of the busiest streets in all of Lexington, Kentucky. And you can see that from it, we have a very clear sight line straight up to the video game store. I'm incredibly excited about this because what it means is that there are going to be 40,000 cars driving by on this road every day that are able to see, hey, there is a new video game store in town and its name is QuickFlips Video Games. Folks, 40,000 cars a day. I heard that and it was like, oh my gosh, a good video on this channel in a week will get 100,000 views. It takes this street 2.5 days to get that many views, and I don't have to do anything for it. But folks, as promised, we've got to talk about the cost. Well, folks, class is in session. You know, honestly, I don't think this table is helping us here. So the current estimate that we have for demo and rebuild of the space, tearing down walls, putting up offices, blah, 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 is, oh, this is lefty. Ooh, $40,000. Give or take, you know, a few grand here or there. That includes redoing the ceiling, floors, sprinkler systems, walls, outlets, blah, blah, blah. And while that's a very scary number, if it's even legible, the nice thing is this actually will come out of our rent for the first like 6 or 7 months. So even though it is a big cash flow hit up front, it means that we're going to save a lot on rent for our first half year of operation. On fixtures, I'm estimating 15 to 20,000. Oh my gosh, that looks like Jack Skellington. By far the biggest expenses, this is going to be all of our glass cases. Those things do not come cheap, I am realizing. There's also things like security systems, cash registers, slat wall, etc. Operation stuff is all of the upgrades that we're going to need basically to the current basement space. We'll need more tables, we'll need more chairs, more shelving, more stations, more computers. That stuff I'm estimating at $5,000. It's very possible it could end up being more, but the good news is we already have all of the stuff that we absolutely need to operate at our current scale. So the more expensive stuff here is semi-optional until we hire again. Ooh, up next we've got inventory. That's a big boy. Let's skip that for now. The other, actually, frankly, they're all big boys. The sign we got an estimate for the dimensions and everything that we would want. $13,000 for a large internally illuminated custom sign, folks. I did not see that one coming. Now, some of you may think, Caleb, why not just have a banner? Why not have a smaller sign? And not only would a banner be against the terms of the lease, but I will refer back to the 40,000 free views a day that we are getting from out there, and it would be a huge shame if they weren't even able to see us. And last but not least, that leaves us inventory, which I am estimating at a very conservative $30,000. Now, the reality is I've already been putting stuff aside for the store. We've got maybe like 4 bins worth of stuff set aside already, but that's not even gonna come close to cutting it. By the way, a huge thank you to anyone who has sold us their inventory or collections through myquickflips.com in the last couple months. There is a very good chance that some of the stuff you sent us will actually end up in this store, so I really appreciate you guys. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up looking more like $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. It's gonna be tough to track because some of it is going to come out of stuff that people are sending us through the website, and other inventory is stuff that I'm going to source specifically for the store in the coming month or two. This leaves us with an estimated total here of $110,000 conservatively. And that's just to get the doors open. Now, it's very possible that I am high or I'm low on a decent number of these. And folks, I talk about all these numbers not to be like sensational or braggy or anything, but because on this channel, one thing I always say is we are money positive. I don't think anyone should ever be ashamed of how much money they make or don't make, or how much they're spending or not spending. And I think it's really important, especially for people who have channels like this one that are claiming to teach people how to make money in a certain field, to be as financially transparent as possible. But folks, at this point, I think I've yapped enough. Why don't we go hear some thoughts from the team that's making all of this possible in the first place? All right, Logan, you have any predictions for the new game store when it opens?
God, I hope it has hot water.
I am so excited that we're finally gonna have a dumpster.
Unmitigated, unrelenting domination.
That's a little bit better than a dumpster.
Maybe some laser tag.
All right, Shina, what's the biggest obstacle we're gonna face?
Aside from the crackheads that steal from Target,
What obstacles are we gonna face?
Probably the crackheads. They're absolutely the worst.
Guys, there are no crackheads.
Someone that sold me a Blu-ray covered in blood.
Guys, there are not that many crackheads in Lexington.
I played
I
dice
want to
with
put a
them on
bet
the
on
Wednesday.
that.
Well, folks, as much as the team and I do love to joke around, the reality is I have no idea what to expect from this move. As with every business that I've started, I am deeply aware of how little I understand about this business. I don't know how to set up a point of sale system. I don't know what's going to be involved with security systems and insurance. Heck, I don't even know how much this build out is ultimately going to cost. But if there's one thing that I've learned about business in this last 6 years, it's that the people who win in the long term are not the ones that wait for the perfect conditions and the perfect knowledge before they get started, because those people never will. In my experience, the ones that win are the ones that jump in feet first, especially if they have a good team around them, and just resolve to, as things come up and as mistakes happen, as obstacles present themselves that you couldn't have expected, you're gonna keep ramming your head against the wall until it gives way and you figure something out. And that's ultimately the extent of my plan with this game store. I think if you combine the experience of the team with just the tenacity of our spirits and the competitive advantage of this YouTube channel, I think we've got a really good shot at making something really special. Now, I don't ultimately know how long this is going to take. I'm hoping to have a soft opening maybe at some point in July, but these things have a way of taking a lot longer than you expect. If you want to follow along with our journey, not only can you subscribe to this channel where I'm going to be posting a lot more game store related content, but you can also subscribe to my second channel, QuickFlips, where you'll see a lot more weekly updates on how the game store is coming and a little bit more informal team vlogs as we figure out everything in the build out and the move-in process and buying inventory and saving it up for the store. I'm really excited to document everything that is happening, and I appreciate every single one of you who's been with me along the way.